whoops. Actually, okay. So we're recording now, and welcome to the PyScript Community Technical call on the 30th of September 2025. Oh my gosh, where's this year gone? And we're sort of trying to get back into a regular cadence. Remember, it's every 2 weeks for this meeting. So without further ado, I'm just going to get on. In case you're wondering why I'm looking away, it's because I have a screen down here with the agenda on it. So now you know I'm not trying to be rude or anything like that. So what we usually do is, if you're new to the call, feel free to introduce yourself. But if you're not, then that's fine as well. So if anyone wants to introduce themselves, that's fine. But otherwise, if you're just there to watch, that's also fine. You're very welcome to be here. Often we start with announcements, but we don't have any right now. So I'll move straight on to the next agenda items, which are what our upcoming work and priorities are going to be, and what we've been up to, so that the core team can give an overview of what's been going. Just a very, very quick overview, and then we can get into the actual agenda items and things. So two of the core team are here. That's myself and Andrea. So I'll start. Since April, I have been running around like a headless chicken, visiting lots of conferences and giving keynotes and running workshops and organizing summits and things like that. And that finally finished last week for me when I came back from the CPython course sprints. So for the next 4 months, I'm right here concentrating on PyScript and nothing else. And I am so happy about that, because going around to conferences and things is very tiring and takes a lot of time, and it's very hard to find the focus time to do some actual engineering. So I'm looking forward to getting back into that sort of stuff. And because of the time of year at Anaconda, we are right in the middle of our planning cycles for what we intend to do over the coming year, and so on and so forth. Andrea's grinning, I can see, because he really loves planning like I do. One of the agenda items is to reveal, because we're an open source project, so we do our planning in the open, to reveal the appropriate aspects of what's going on in that planning process for the open source project that is PyScript. So we'll be doing that, and essentially what I want to do is get back into doing some proper engineering, writing some Python code, updating aspects of the PyScript standard library, liaising with Damien about MicroPython things, and all of the other sorts of good stuff, and re-establishing some wind in the sails of the PyScript community here on Discord, and updating other things like docs and examples and stuff. So that's what I'm up to. Andrea, what have you been up to, and what are you going to be up to? Please tell us.
Yeah, so this shouldn't be too long. So I wrote basically down yesterday on Discord what happened recently, and a lot of topics, a lot of moving things. MicroPython, we are looking forward. So things are being merged as we speak, actually, because today there were 2 merges already, and so we are looking forward to have the latest MicroPython and sneak peek about what's coming. The identities, so there is less new runtime proxies around. The identity of things floating around are the same, which means less moving parts, less code, and better performance, even if MicroPython is not the one that needs so much performance. But at the end of the day, when there are a lot of round trips between MicroPython, Word, and JavaScript, the lesser the better, I would say. Then again, PyGames-CE, I didn't realize, and that's on us, but because it's super hard to, not super, it's just hard to be sure that PyGames-CE runs. We should probably invest some time to write a proper CI test that says, hey, it's not working anymore. But at the same time, even if that was the case, we wanted to update to the latest Pyodide because it's bringing in a lot of improvements with the WASM latest things and with performance and everything else. And I've been trying to help with this FFI PEP for Python, which is coming to discuss how FFI should work between Python and JavaScript. So what's the translation, transformation, and it's been super productive so far. And I would like to thank Hood for listening to me. Sometimes I'm not the easiest person to listen to because I just go technical right away with probably opinions, but also examples. And it looks like things are moving forward for the best for everyone involved. And also that includes the Pyodide default converter is going to be you won't need to specify the dict converter anymore. It's going to be by default, or at least that's a hope. But there is already a merge request that is moving forward as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be JavaScript object literal because that's what JavaScript uses. When in Python you just use dictionaries, in JavaScript you just use object literals. So as easy as that. There's no middle ground there. And whenever you want to have a map, you can specify a dict converter that produces a map, and that's on you, because otherwise if you write dict converter 10 times because only in one occasion you didn't want a dictionary, that means that maybe maybe it would be better to have a default converter that is a literal, and the only occasion where you really want a map, you just specify a map for the JS word.
This is really interesting. I mean, the things that you've just said. So, for instance, some of the changes that Damien has been doing with MicroPython will allow us, and this is some of the refactoring I want to do in our standard library, will allow us to remove some of the conditionals around if this is MicroPython, do this. Otherwise, if this is Pyodide, do that other thing. He's kind of helping us consolidate so that everything works in the same sort of way in terms of the API, so that we can start to do, inspect function calls, for instance, function signatures, so that we can see what arguments are, all of that sort of stuff. Because right now it's a bit of a mess and a bit of a hack, but we can tidy all of that code up. With the FFI, everybody has opinions. I'm going to wait until the PEP is published. Personally speaking, I think that map versus dict thing has been a source. It has been a kind of a grain of sand in the heel of lots of people. And it would be nice if we could actually get it to being more idiomatic JavaScripty as well. And with an unerring sense of timing, we're doing our upcoming work and priorities section, and the next person on that list is Dan. Hello, Dan.
Perfect timing, I would say.
How are you? What have you been up to with regards to PyScript? Just a brief overview.
So we've been, I guess, as Anaconda, we've been like planning quarterly. So we've been talking a lot about like both, I guess, finishing up some of the work we're working on now. We're working on like a Conda stats dashboard, and that's been going well. And trying to finish that up, but also been talking about like work for next quarter and like what those priorities look like and stuff like that. And one thing we've been thinking about is improvements to packaging and how users get immediate feedback that if they pick a dependency, it may not work with PyScript. And right now it's a lot of kind of trial and error, and maybe we could improve that process as well as some freezing environments and other things related to like the packaging story for PyScript to make it easier to build apps. So
just so folks know, the Conda dashboard thing is part of our thrust to make sure that PyScript is first-class citizen for doing data science, should you require to do that. So whilst that's a kind of an internal dashboard project, as it were, the benefits of the work that we're doing are also something that the wider open source community who use PyScript will be able to benefit from as well. And that was a great segue, Dan. because the agenda items are mostly about what we're planning. Um, so we can dig into those right now. So the first item on the agenda is just a polite reminder that this Thursday is the PyScript FUN meeting. The first Thursday of every month, we invite people to turn up with their fun project or their fun thing that they've learned about PyScript, and it's this Thursday. If you go and look in the events part of the Discord server for PyScript, you will see when it's scheduled as well. So everybody's welcome. Come along, show us something fun, and we can celebrate the work that you've been doing. The next item is on me, and this is basically PyScript planning. To reiterate what Dan said, we're currently within Anaconda. It's that time of year when we're working out what we're doing on in the next quarter. And things on our radar right now are packaging, as Dan said, and the environments for running PyScript and making it very easy to be able to define those. We also want to do revisions to the documentation and examples so they are relevant to current PyScript, because a lot of the examples date back 3 years ago when PyScript was announced, which feels like, when dinosaurs ruled the world in internet time. But we need to revise them.
Well, they are still working, right?
But they are still working. This is the important thing. So, hurrah for us.
Of the web.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we've rewritten PyScript since then, but it still works, which is an important aspect of this. And also ensuring that we get energy back into the room with the PyScript community and engaging and doing all of that good stuff. The important thing I want folks who may be watching at home to realize is that this is a conversation. We're an open source project, and as far as we can, we try and do our planning in the open as best we can. So the outcomes of the stuff that we're telling our bosses at Anaconda will turn up into discussion points and pull requests and things like that on GitHub. So you'll be able to see this stuff coming down the line. We'll be talking about it more over the course of this quarter, 6 months, whatever it is, as we do this work. And so please engage. Tell us where we're doing it right, where we're doing it wrong, what have we forgotten, what are we missing, that sort of stuff, because we want PyScript to be the PyScript for you as well. And we need to make those technical decisions based on all the feedback that we can get. The more voices we hear, the more diverse the input we get, the more enlarged view we have as well. The last thing I want to mention before we get onto our final agenda item, which is one of Andrea's, is that we've been trying to ascertain the status of PyScript.com, which is, of course, the answer that we give to everybody when they say, well, how do I try PyScript? Well, go to PyScript.com, create a project, blah, blah, blah. PyScript.com is in maintenance mode at the moment, which means there is no active development happening at this moment in time. That doesn't mean that there won't be future changes or enhancements to an offering for hosting PyScript-related things from Anaconda, but PyScript.com is an Anaconda internal project that because we want to be good open source citizens, we provide for free to the community. But right now, the folks who are maintaining that are, because of internal reorganization, are doing other things. But there is absolutely a plan for making sure that PyScript and hosting of PyScript applications is something that remains for people who are using it. And if you are a current user of PyScript.com, there will absolutely be some sort of migration, if required, to whatever the next generation. Starting to sound like Star Trek. The next generation of PyScript is in terms of the offering of hosting and editing online. So if you have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to put that in the chat on Discord. We're more than happy to answer those or pass on questions to the team who have been responsible for that, so that they get an opportunity to feedback. Enough of me talking. And now we have Andrea, who seems to have hay fever. Andrea.
Yeah, sorry for the coughing.
No problem.
I should have muted myself. Yeah, so not necessarily related, but it's part of the topics we discussed and the planning we discussed. And this is about improving PyScript packages. And maybe I can share my screen. It's not that I'm going to read the whole discussion that I just wrote on GitHub, but maybe I can go through it somehow.
Okay, we can see your screen, Andrea. You're good to go.
Okay, okay. So it's since now or a few minutes ago. It's on it's on PyScript discussions. We had requirements, various kind of requirements around the way we package things or around the way PyScript loads packages, dependencies, and everything else. So I wrote down the reasons people are not happy about the current situation. I can quickly summarize without reading the whole thing, but basically you clone a PyScript project, the original, let's say it's a teacher, a professor, or anyone that would like to share their own thing, they update their own project, that doesn't propagate. It has pros and cons. The pros is that you forked at some point in time and you were not affected by potential breaking change. The cons is that especially in educational targeting fields, that's undesired. So you want to be sure that whoever cloned your project eventually finds the latest, greatest out of the box without any extra thing. You need to manually add files to the PyScript.com project. And if you change those files, it's the same thing. It doesn't work. So, and that includes custom packages. So you created a list of files, and here I actually somewhere, yeah, here, I actually pointed out the way we understand files. So you can have files, but you can have more complex. Yeah, you can have easily more complex situations where you want to have files from the same domain with the same path, but after couple of years of use cases and people asking us about this, it came out. So we realized quite easily that the reason people write a lot of files is that because they want to bring into PyScript their own custom package or module. Let's say module probably is the proper word. And this dance is so you have a config, you need files in your assets folder or in your PyScript project. You fork to update that is going to be problematic. So a lot of people asked, how do we actually integrate with GitLab, GitHub, or any remote service that can provide that package? So right now we are compatible with custom pure Python wheels, at least at the MicroPython level, because while Pyodide supports packages, MicroPython doesn't, because there is a MicroPyp, but as far as we know, not many people use that. But at the same time, the use case for a custom package is huge. So right now, if we have a WHL or a zip targz or tgz, we do the magic behind the scene, but that's still at the files level, which is about disambiguating. So you don't want to just bring files into your virtual file system. You actually want to provide your own package. And so how about, because we already have a packages list, how about we get smart about it? And so the proposal is about understanding that if the package ends with a TOML or a JSON, it's just a config file. How will the config file in this case, in this example, look like? So he has a name, the package name, it could be Nicholas or Andrea thingy. You can define all other config things like JS modules on the main thread, on the worker thread, and you can define files relatively. So this is relative to where this config comes from. So let's say we have a remote website.com module config.toml. From this config.toml, we actually fetch remote website.com module init.py into the package name folder, package name logic. So this translates into this, and we already have the orchestration to fetch all these things all at once. So in a performance way, and And so the proposal is about, we recognize this package is not really a package. It's not a canonical name. It's the whole URL. It's an absolute URL, and it ends with either toml or JSON. So we merge that config into our project, and you could specify here. I didn't write in this proposal, but you could specify your own packages in here, so that packages can be merged with other packages. So if you need a matplotlib example, you could just say packages equal matplotlib. And if the original pyconfig didn't have that, it will merge that dependency together. I think this will solve tons of use cases so that you can have your package in your website looking like this: packages matplotlib and my config remote toml. And you can import the package name and matplotlib without even thinking about it, and everything will bootstrap. And this should be well connected with other topics like we have bokeh or panel, or some Pyodide library requires their counter pinned version counterpart in terms of JavaScript and CSS files. And I think this is an entry point to decide, okay, we want to provide the best developer experience. So how about we make packages like, if you do PyScript colon as a protocol, PyScript colon bokeh at 3.2, we automatically do the dance for you, and we automatically bring in all the JavaScript dependencies, all the CSS that's needed, all files around, and the bokeh 3.2 as well. So all dependencies are pinned, and you're gonna have just a single thing instead of the bloat that bokeh or other libraries in Pyodide requires when it comes to landing on the web. So an HTML page will look way lighter because we do the rest behind the scene. And also it will be more declarative or more semantic, because when you see a lot of scripts, tons of libraries around, you're wondering why is that needed? What is it doing? I don't even see bokeh mentioned anywhere. And those are side effects as a Pyodide bokeh dependency. And so I think it's gonna be great for all these use cases. This specific protocol as a PyScript colon protocol, PyScript colon / whatever. We can discuss that, but it's not within. It's something that I came up with a few minutes ago discussing with Nicholas actually. But I think we have potentials to improve our packages list of things without explaining anything else, because the foreign toml or JSON is going to be following exactly the same convention we have already. There's less code to reason about, less code to maintain, and everything can be just merged together and work out of the box. So if you have any thoughts, you can surely ask me questions right now, but please write your comments within this proposal so that we can discuss other things. Actually, I should probably note it here. Forgot to mention PyScript bokeh at 3.2 use case that we could resolve. That's it.
So there we are. We have a live discussion live online and now in YouTube for posterity. Fabio has been very patient with his hand up. Fabio, take it away, matey.
No, quick question, just to clarify, Andrea, like the bokeh case I may have missed I may have missed the detail. But what you're saying is, if we had a PyScript package, I don't even know how you are calling it, but anyway, that configuration file, that for each release of bokeh you could include the additional JavaScript files and assets and stuff that it needs to load. Is that what you're saying?
You could, yes.
But well, yes, you could. Yes, I understand that. But that's is the proposal to use that to fix the problem with dynamic loading those files for every new release of bokeh or panel or bokeh dependent projects?
So the thing is that if you don't include those files in your HTML, bokeh is not going to work. Panel is not going to work.
Yes. I know the problem. Yeah, I know the problem. I'm asking if that's the solution that you're proposing for that problem.
So it's a discussion, and this is gonna solve that too if we want to. If we don't want to, nothing is gonna change. But the fact that so this is a single point of truth or source of truth, not point of failure. It could be, but source of truth is that you specify bokeh 3.2.1, and you don't need to look around where to find those from the CDN and everything and anything else. So bokeh 3.2.1 brings in your page. If not that already, that's also something we can discuss. We'll bring in the CSS and related JS that you need. If you need a specific file, you just specify your own config toml from remote, and in that config toml. So it's about providing a way to merge configs into one. What we have right now, so to probably this helps understanding what we are solving in here. We on the main thread especially, we cannot allow, or for any environment, worker or main thread, we just allow one single config. We don't allow two configs because it's going to be not straightforward to say, hey, I want this config, but also that config. It makes no sense. But the fact that in the config, you can specify this package comes from this config, and that config provides all the thing is just exactly the equivalent of providing pure Python wheel, so that .whl or a zip or a targz, and at the same time is just a parsing thing instead of extracting and requiring users to provide that artifact. We just ask users to provide a config, and they can define whatever they want in there. And with this proposal, because the packages can offer more. So once we can offer more, we already offer more because we can offer WHL foreign remote packages already. Because we can offer more, we can think about offering more in terms of bokeh, panel, or any other thing that is not straightforward to implement because you need to clone the whole template, HTML template, to import bokeh. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
This is the interesting aspect of what's going on here, is that we have web-based technology such as bokeh and things which requires JavaScript and CSS and all the other sorts of stuff, but we're now able to orchestrate all of this and bring it together because existing packaging solutions like Wheels, I mean, they work with PyScript, but they are put on the local file system inside the browser. Whereas, for instance, the whole thing about the JavaScript dependencies and stuff, that's actually going to be on the main thread in the web page or in the worker, or all of that sort of stuff. We're able to start doing that. So this is, for me, a welcome step forward. But to go back to what Andrea was saying, the devil's in the details, and this is the start of a conversation. So let's talk.
Yeah. Just to clarify, I'm really trying to understand what the proposal is. There's zero negative or positive feelings about it. I do have positive feelings about it in the sense that I think it solves a good amount of use cases, in the sense that when you depend on external.
Can I quickly share my screen so that it's clear what this extra bokeh thing, because you focus on bokeh, but that's the least thing that is not even in the proposal.
No.
Just to show you, this is
very familiar with the bokeh problem.
Fabio, please just Sorry, Fabio.
So this is our.
Hang on, Andrea. Hang on. Because of the lag, we're talking over each other. I'd rather we didn't talk over each other, and I want Fabio just to say this is the context that I'm particularly interested in, and then Andrea, we can hopefully illuminate what that is, so Fabio feels that he's been heard, and we can.
I just to say, I'm totally familiar with the bokeh problem. I used to be a bokeh core developer. Like, I know bokeh has two components, one on the Python side, the other on the client side. But the client side needs to load all the CSS and stuff. And I know that is a current problem with the PyScript users for bokeh or panel, because every time they need to go on the top of the page and add those assets, right? I'm super familiar with the problem. Actually, I paired with Philip a few months ago on this to try and solve this problem. in a different way. So I'm familiar with the problem. My question was actually to understand what the full details of the proposal to see, oh, is that actually a viable option or not, or is there are better options and things like this. But so far, I was really just trying to understand the proposal itself, right? And
The
again,
proposal
I
is
do
not about
believe
bokeh. The proposal is not
yes,
about bokeh.
exactly. That was going to be my next sentence. I don't think I think the proposal provides value beyond this problem, right? Because as a PyScript user, so many times I wanted to basically reuse the config of another app, and I had to basically cherry pick and pick things from one and the other and that. In PyScript.com, we do have the export thing for the app, and you can reuse another app, but not this way, right? So this is great. Like, now back to the problem. As a user, or actually, I will not put as a user. Like, I would invite you to consider the negative cases, right? And just to think about how we solve those problems. Not that necessarily the proposal is not good. If you have conflicting versions in both files, so the same library, and you have conflicting versions of the same package, okay. Second is this, if I'm understanding correctly, would require manual work to go and cherry pick which of the JavaScript libraries versions you need for this version of bokeh, this version of panel, this. So there is extra work to solve
No,
those
no,
use
no.
cases.
It's gonna be automated. It's part of a different discussion. So the
Okay.
bokeh again,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not even in the proposal. The bokeh is not even in the proposal. So we can discuss further how we solve this, and I welcome your concerns about what are the odds if one package is requiring bokeh X and one package is requiring bokeh Y, or one package is requiring the same package name with a different URL. So these are all valid concerns, but that's about us to make a decision. That's why there is a discussion. It's not that we are finding a solution now. There is a discussion on GitHub, and
So
Yeah,
you've
absolutely.
brought up a really good point. And again, sorry for being a bit teacherish about this here. The thing is that we're having this technical discussion, which is interesting, and we're having all the right sorts of discussions here. But it's three blokes in a YouTube channel talking about it. Whereas perhaps the concerns, Fabio, which are absolutely, it made me smile inside because these are all the classic packaging problems that everybody everywhere has, and we're now kind of jumping down that rabbit hole. So this is going to be fun. I want to say, whee, here we go. But the point is that we can have that discussion in public, so folks who don't see this video still have visibility of it, because we're going to be able to link to it from Discord and things like that. So what I'm not saying, I just want to hasten to add, is we should stop talking about it here and now, but we should be mindful of the fact that whatever we talk about here needs to also appear and be visible in the GitHub based conversation, so that everybody has an opportunity to engage and form opinions and what have you. I kind of feel I've done a sort of a
agreed.
mic drop thing, but I don't want to stop the vibes in the room, but at the same time,
No,
I
no,
want
no,
to move
no.
the vibes to GitHub, if you see what I mean. That's kind of what I'm trying to get to.
Yes. Again, to clarify, you asked, are any questions? And I'm like, yeah. If you
Absolutely.
mention the bokeh problem, if you mention the bokeh problem, I think it solves a lot of problems. I think we would still have the problem with just what I heard. It's not like it's literally a discussion. Expressing an opinion.
Yeah.
But
This is great.
what Nicolas said is also true. This has been solved already as a problem, so we can just focus on how do we solve these use cases. We take
Well, Andrea, you
NPM
say
or
that.
T
What do
for
you mean?
It's a
What do
big
you
red
mean?
flag for me is when somebody turns up and says, "I've sold packaging," and I'm like, "Oh yeah."
Exactly.
No, no, no.
What do you
I'm
mean?
saying,
Show me.
what is PEP doing? What is PEP doing? You have two projects that depend
Yeah.
on bokeh 3.1 and the other one 3.2. Which bokeh comes first? Because it's not going to throw, right? It's not an error. which bokeh comes first. And same is with npm and package lock and everything else. This will solve the problem, I think, for the industry. So we can discuss this forever, but we can check what PEP does,
Yeah.
what npm does.
You've made a really good point, because it might not be I've solved packaging, but there is a practice that is common. No, I don't mean you. Hang on a second, Andrea. But there is a practice. The behavior of PIP might be the thing that we use, or Conda. We can explore this in the conversation. But we want the element of least surprise for our users, so that if they are used to the packages being resolved in a certain sort of a way, and that is the PIP way, then we should echo that, because that is the idioms of Python, and we are Python in the browser, etc., etc., etc. Fabio, you have your hand up.
I really don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer. Like, the point here is just saying, like, when you put a user story, right? You put, as a user, I wanted this, and then you put like the negative case when things fail, right? Like, what do we do when you have a password error, where you have like a username error, etc., so that you are aware of those cases, so that when you develop, you just consider them. My point is not to negate anything, but just to go through. Oh, actually, we will have to think about this when we develop.
Fabio, my request to you then is to embrace your, what was it you called it? Your inner Debbie Downer. And I would say, because my background's in academic philosophy, this is the Socratic method, where what you do, you try and find all the edge cases that blows up an argument or a position or an engineering problem, and you try and blow it up. And if the thing's still standing, it's probably a really good thing. So let's explore that. Let's do the Socrates thing. Although the Athenians actually they killed Socrates for that. Anyway, didn't end well for him, but hopefully it'll end better for us. But the Debbie Downer, I think that's better than the Socrates. So please, and also for everybody else listening, take part in this discussion. We can only but improve it by your input. Now, I'm looking at the time. And I want to make sure that we get that conversation onto the GitHub proposal. Is there anything else that we need to talk about? Otherwise, I'll call this meeting a close. I can hear either Fabio's tap dancing or he's typing. I think we have no more comments or discussion for this meeting. So thank you very much for everybody for taking part. It's good to be back. Let's get the energy back into the room, and hopefully see you next time. Same place, same time. I'll switch the video off now.
Bye.